Iran is not a country to be underestimated. This Mid-Eastern country has surprised the world with its advanced technology, spanning from a wide range of powerful ballistic missiles to advanced drones and even lethal bombers. However, Iran not only has a formidable military arsenal, but also many trained soldiers. This country is ready to take on modern threats without resistance. What's the history of Iran's military? How advanced is Iran's military system? Join us as we explore the depths of Iran's forces as it shocked the world with 11 million soldiers. The geopolitical tension and recent military confrontation between Iran and Israel has led to a total unrest not only in neighboring countries, but also worldwide. This conflict has increased worldwide curiosity concerning Iran's military might and the strength of its armed forces. While the tension between these two regions has existed for ages, most people have no idea what instigated this fierce conflict. According to reports, this conflict started in early April, when Israel attacked a building in Iran's diplomatic compound in the Syrian capital, Damascus. This attack led to the death of 7 of Iran's senior commanders and military personnel. And just as you imagined, Iran did not take this attack so well, and this is not only because of the already damaged relationship between these two nations. As a response to the attack and the death of Iran's military personnel and senior commander, this country started a massive and equally lethal attack on Israel on April 13, 2024. This was not a warning strike, as the aim was to destroy, since it involved the deployment of hundreds of drones and missiles which were aimed at targets inside Israel and the territory that it controls. In a report, Israeli officials mentioned that they are fully prepared to respond to the attack with a counterattack. However, this move would not only prompt further retaliation from Iran's military forces, but would lead to mass destruction that might expand into a wider regional war. Some nations have discussed that there is a huge probability that a conflict of this sort would result in the involvement of the United States. However, Washington has openly stated and made it clear that it had no hand in the attack that occurred in Damascus. For over a decade now, analysts have observed that the United States and Israel, Iran's greatest enemies, have avoided direct military strikes on Iran because they wanted to avoid Tehran's complex military apparatus, which is renowned for being quite formidable. So, instead of engaging in direct conflict, these countries have been involved in a long shadow war in the air, sea, land, and cyber attacks. And Israel has covertly targeted military and nuclear facilities inside Iran and killed commanders and scientists. According to Afshan Ostovar, an associate professor of national security affairs at the Naval Postgraduate School and an expert on Iran's military, there is a reason why Iran has not been struck despite the deployment of several weapons of mass destruction upon Israel. This decision to delay a counterattack by Israel is not due to fear, but the realization that any war against Iran would lead to a very serious war, if not the Third World War. This realization has people questioning the country's military capabilities and how well it can defend itself if the United States and other technologically advanced nations decide to join in the conflict. In response to this renewed curiosity concerning Iran's military might, it is worth noting that the Iranian armed forces are among the largest in the Middle East, with at least 580,000 active duty personnel and about 200,000 trained reserve personnel divided among the traditional army and the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps. This statistic is based on an annual assessment last year by the International Institute for Strategic Studies. The Army and the Guards each have separate and active ground, air, and naval forces, with the Guards responsible for Iran's border security. The Armed Forces General Staff coordinates the branches and sets the overall strategy. The Guards also operate the Quds Force, an elite unit in charge of arming, training, and supporting the network of proxy militias throughout the Middle East known as the Axis of Resistance. These militias include Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, militia groups in Syria and Iraq, and Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad in Gaza. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the commander-in-chief of Iran's armed forces, is the supreme leader who has the last word on all major decisions. While the proxy militias are not considered part of Iran's armed forces, analysts believe that they are considered as an allied regional force that is always prepared for battle, heavily armed, and ideologically loyal, and could come to Iran's aid if it was attacked. Fabian Hinz, an expert on Iran's military, at the International Institute for Strategic Studies in Berlin, mentioned that Iran has given non-government groups like Hezbollah an extraordinary amount of support. This support includes advanced drones, ballistic missiles, and cruise missiles. These resources are significant parts of Iran's military strength, particularly because of Hezbollah's strong ties with Iran. Iran's military strategy has been based on deterrence for decades, emphasizing the development of precision and long-range missiles, drones, and air defenses. It has also built a large fleet of speedboats and small submarines capable of disrupting shipping traffic and global energy supplies that pass through the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. This country also has one of the largest arsenals of ballistic missiles and drones in the Middle East. That includes cruise and anti-ship missiles and ballistic missiles with a range of about 2,000 kilometers or even more than 1,200 miles. These missiles have the capacity and range to hit any target in the Middle East, including Israel. In the past few years, Tehran has gathered a lot of drones that can fly very far, around 1,200 to 1,500 miles. According to Iranian media, these drones are designed to fly low to avoid being detected by radar, which makes them penetrate the enemy's territory with ease. Iran did not plan to keep this technology a secret, as they have openly revealed their collection of drones and missiles during military parades. They also plan to sell several drones to other countries. Russia has reportedly used some of Iran's drones in Ukraine, and they've also been seen in the fighting in Sudan. Experts have laid emphasis on the fact that the country's bases and storage facilities are widely dispersed, buried deep underground, and fortified with air defenses, making them difficult to destroy with airstrikes. Despite the international sanctions that have prevented Iran from purchasing high-tech weaponry and military equipment manufactured abroad, such as tanks and fighter jets, this country still remains formidable. During its 8-year war with Iraq in the 1960s, few countries were more than willing to sell weapons to Iran. However, a year after the war ended, when Ayatollah Khamenei became Iran's supreme leader in 1989, he commissioned the Guards to develop a domestic weapons industry and invested into its development. The aim was to ensure that Iran would never again rely on foreign powers for its defense needs. According to experts, Iran has recently manufactured a large number of missiles and drones domestically and has also prioritized defense production. Its attempts to make armored vehicles and large naval vessels have met with mixed results. It also imports small submarines from North Korea while expanding and modernizing its domestically produced fleet. As a result of this dedication to improve its military sector, Iran's military is viewed as one of the strongest in the region regarding equipment, cohesion, experience, and personnel quality. But some experts believe that this country is quite far behind the power of the armed forces of the United States, Israel, and some European countries. Well, they just might be right because Iran's greatest weakness is known to be its air force. Most of the country's aircraft are from the era of Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, who led Iran from 1941 to 1979, and many have been turned off for lack of spare parts. The country also bought a small fleet from Russia in the 1990s. Also, Iran's tanks and armored vehicles are old, and the country has only a few large naval vessels. American officials mentioned that 2 of Iran's intelligence-gathering vessels, the Saviz and Bashad, which were deployed on the Red Sea, have aided the Houthis in identifying Israeli-owned ships for attacks. This country started a major campaign to produce and stockpile chemical weapons after a truce was agreed with Iraq after the 1980 to 1988 Iran-Iraq War. However, Iran ratified the Chemical Weapons Convention in 1997. Iranian troops and civilians suffered tens of thousands of casualties from Iraqi chemical weapons during the 1980 to 1988 Iran-Iraq War. Even today, more than 24 years after the end of the Iran-Iraq War, about 30,000 Iranians are still suffering and dying from the effects of chemical weapons employed by Iraq during the war. The need to manage the treatment of such a large number of casualties has placed Iran's medical specialists at the forefront of the development of effective treatment regimens for chemical weapons victims, particularly for those suffering from exposure to mustard gas. Iran ratified the Biological Weapons Convention in 1973 and has advanced in biological and genetic engineering research programs supporting an industry that produces vaccines for both domestic use and export. It has been reported that Iran is one of the 5 countries with a cyber army capable of conducting cyber warfare operations. Iran has also immensely increased its cyber warfare capability since the post-presidential election unrest. Furthermore, China has accused the United States of having initiated a cyber war against Iran through websites such as Twitter and YouTube, in addition to employing a hacker brigade for fomenting unrest in Iran. In the early 20th century, it was also reported that 2 new garrisons for cyber warfare had been established at Zanjan and Isfahan. Based on reports, Iran is seen as one of the top 15 military forces globally in 2024, which is the 14th position out of 145 countries in the global firepower ranking. This proves Iran's significant military strength on the world stage. The Islamic Republic of Iran is one of the most unique military powers in the Middle East and globally. Its defense budget of 2024 is estimated at $5.5 billion. Also, this country has service branches under the command of the Armed Forces General Staff, including the Army, the IRGC, and its police force. Here are some interesting things to know about their army. Iran possesses about 587,000 personnel, which includes F-14 Tomcats and F-4 Phantom jets made in the United States. It unveiled its 4th-generation fighter 3 years ago and has also developed ballistic missiles with a range of up to 1,000 kilometers. However, it is believed that they are defensive and not designed to carry nuclear warheads. The Iran's Navy has displaced its small submarines that are developed to shoot cruise missiles. These submarines are thought to have 9 crew members and weigh less than 150 tons. In 2011, Iran took control of an American drone and used its technology to make its own drone. Basij, a part of Iran's Revolutionary Guard, can give the Iranian military about 11 million soldiers, which is as many as the American, Russian, and Chinese armies combined. Therefore, when it comes to security, since the mid-1980s, Iran has turned to programs to develop weapons of mass destruction, including nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons. In the late 90s, it achieved success in the domestic production of medium-range and long-range missiles, ranging from 480 to 965 kilometers, and from 965 to 5,310 kilometers, respectively. After 21 months of service, the Army is the largest branch of the Iranian military, followed by the Revolutionary Guards. Organized in the early days of the Republic, this institution is the most effective military force in the country and is composed of the most reliable political and religious personnel. Any security forces involved in a foreign war or internal armed conflict accompanies or leads elements of the Revolutionary Guards. Iran has a small air force, navy, and city police force. Another group looks after rural areas, all managed by the Ministry of the Interior. Iran has a strong military industry, making many small weapons and vehicles like the BMP-2 and T-72. From 1925 until the Iranian Revolution in 1979, Iran was mostly equipped with Western hardware. Its main suppliers included the United States, Great Britain, France, West Germany, Italy, Israel, and the Soviet Union. So when it comes to the Air Force, its total strength is 509, with 142 fighters, 165 attacks, and 89 transport. On land, it has 4,634 battle tanks and 2,345 armored combat vehicles. It has 570 self-propelled guns, 2,001 28 towed guns, and 1,900 rocket projectors, 34 submarines, 88 patrol vessels, and 3 mine warfare vessels. Iran has thousands of dangerous war drones. Currently, Iran has updated all its military equipment. Iran also possesses a large and diverse collection of missiles, which includes thousands of ballistic and cruise missiles. These missiles can attack the most distant places, such as Israel and Southeast Europe. Since the last decade, Iran has invested significantly in improving the accuracy and lethality of its missiles. These developments have made Iran's missile forces a powerful tool for projecting its power and a credible threat to the U.S. military and its partners in the region. Iran is highly diversified in the missile field, with more than 3,000 ballistic missiles, including ground attack cruise missiles. The country has paid great attention to improving the accuracy and precision of its missiles and has also focused on the development of solid fuel missiles, which is expected to continue. Iran also has a wide diversity of UAVs, and over the decades, it has expanded its capabilities in developing, producing, and using various types of UAVs. The country has developed drones with different capabilities, including reconnaissance, surveillance, attack, and even suicide missions. It has various drones in its possession. Some of the most formidable are Arash with a flight range of 2,000 kilometers and a flight time of up to 8.5 hours. Photos with a range between 172,000 kilometers and a flight time of up to 30 hours. Mohajer 6 with a maximum range of 200 kilometers and a flight time of up to 12 hours. Shade 12-9 flight range between 17 and 2,000 kilometers. Common 22 with a flight range of up to 3,000 kilometers and a flight time of up to 24 hours. Iran also has advanced capabilities in suicide drones and spy equipment and is working to increase the range accuracy and payload capabilities of its drones. Iranian drones have been used in various missions throughout the Middle East region and have sometimes been used as a tool to increase Iran's influence in the region and support its proxy groups. It makes use of several types of tanks in its military, including the Zulfikar, T-72s, T-62, T-55, T-59, M-47, M-48, M-61, and the Qarar, which is still in production. This diversity reflects the mix of domestic and foreign tanks Iran has relied on to bolster its military capabilities. However, Israel also has a commendable military arsenal as well. According to the International Institute for Strategic Studies, in 2023, Israel had 169,400 active soldiers in the Army, Navy, and paramilitary. Additionally, they had 465,000 reserve soldiers and 8,000 paramilitary members. According to a military spokesperson, about 300,000 Israeli soldiers are currently close to the Gaza Strip, raising concerns about a potential ground operation. In Israel, anyone 18 or older is expected to join the military. Men usually serve for 32 months and women serve for 24 months. Israel has something called the Iron Dome system. It's like a moving shield that protects against short-range rockets. It uses radar to find and destroy these rockets before they hit their target. They started making it in 26 after a big fight with Hezbollah, where lots of rockets were shot into Israel. After being operational in 2011, the Iron Dome was created with the help of the US, which is responsible for supplying parts for the system, including setting aside more than $1.5 billion in missile defense for Israel in 2022. Israel is also believed to hold nuclear capabilities, according to the IESS, which states that the country possesses Jericho missiles and aircraft capable of carrying nuclear warheads. In 2022, Israel spent $23.4 billion on its military, according to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, a research institute focused on conflict and armaments. This amounts to $2,000 per capita over the 2018 to 2022 period, and this makes it the world's second largest spender on military per capita after Qatar. That same year, Israel dedicated 4.5% of its GDP to bolstering its military sector, the 10th highest percentage globally. Historically, Israel's weapons imports have far outweighed its exports. However, CIPRA data shows that exports have begun to eclipse imports consistently during the last decade. Over 35 countries imported weapons from Israel, totaling $3.2 billion between 2018 and 2022. About a third of Israel's military exports were to India. In the period between 2018, Israel also imported weapons totaling $2.7 billion from only two countries, the US and Germany. More than three-quarters of Israel's military imports, amounting to $2.1 billion, came from the US, while the remaining $546 million came from Germany. From comparing both countries' military might, it can be deduced that Iran is ahead of Israel in the naval sector. Israel has 67 warships, while Iran has a long-standing fleet of 101 warships. Apart from this, Israel has 43,000 armored vehicles, while Iran has 65,000 armored vehicles. Iran is also heavy on Israel in terms of the number of troops. Thanks for watching. While you are still here, click on the link on your screen to check out another of our videos. See you there.